All right, it's 7 PM, so we'll call the meeting to order. Christine, would you do the roll call, please?
Sure will. Kevin Dougherty,
Present.
Ronald Cabana,
Here.
Frederick Shimura,
Here.
David Hosmer,
Here.
Glenn Lessig,
Here.
George McCoy,
Present.
Dave Horton,
Here.
David Richardson,
Here.
Mark Chamber.
Here. All righty. Thank you very much. All right, we can skip number 3, which is to seat an alternate.
I make a motion, we approve the meeting, the minutes of the March 24, 2015 meeting, regular meeting.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the minutes for the March 24th meeting to approve. Any discussion?
I got a couple of things. One, this is, doesn't really change the minutes, or I'm not going to ask if the minutes be changed. At the last meeting, Dave Ford and I both read some written comments or amendments to the minutes, and we gave the written copy of that. What's in here and the written copy are not the same. Now, I'm not gonna make a big issue out of it because in principle, I mean, they were modified to the point of where it changed meaning significantly. But we're gonna submit written notes and read them and then have them approved in the minutes. They should go in exactly as they're written. They shouldn't be edited. That's my only comment on that issue.
All right, well, let's make note of that, and also, just as a point, the minutes are not meant to be a transcript, but if there are changes made, they should in fact reflect what was said.
Well, I mean, we went as far as breaking it down. The only other thing I have is, let me see, on page 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7th paragraph down, started out, Dave Richardson stated that Teamsters do not get a stipend. It's not an issue. That's what I said, is that the Teamsters is not an issue because it's a completely separate unit. And on the next page, there was a motion made to bring the budget to referendum. I believe that should be to bring it to a town meeting.
Should have been to public hearing.
Or, gotta remember which one we're on. Yeah, right, public hearing.
Yeah, yeah, that should reflect that it was sent to public hearing.
Where are we? Oh, what page?
I think it's
On the page where you have the notice of the public hearing.
Okay.
And then the next paragraph, what I said was calculated that the cost after reimbursement from the state will not be more than $120,000. Not the reimbursement.
Where is it on page?
Boy.
That same page, sir?
Yeah, just below the discussion of the motion that was made. It's the 5th line
Yep.
down, or paragraph, whatever it is.
Yeah, calculated that the cost after reimbursement from the state would not be more than 120, not at the reimbursement.
You all set with that, Christine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else? motion, the second. Accept the minutes as they were amended. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, go on to the acceptance of the final budgets and capital plans for town meeting. What's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I have something that I know everybody's seen, because it's been flying around all day. And I think I just should catch everybody up. And the special education issue, the $81,000. There was a, if you didn't see it, there was a late in the day spreadsheet that updated the excess cost calculation and fixed some of the numbers that were a little confusing on top. I did speak with Dr. Barron and Karen Valdesius about quarter 5:25 this afternoon, and we discussed the students issue and where the numbers came from. So I'm okay with the 134, I know the 74, where it came from, the 60, and then down below the 60 and 74, 725, and then also that 12,110. So we were able to get all of that tied out. Essentially what happened is there was one student who was outplaced that added $60,000 because of the outplacement, and then there was, or added cost of the house placement, and then there was one student who was not at the excess cost limit. He or she was only a $12,000 TA expense in special education last year, and it's now going to be $74,000. That's what kicks it up so high, because then the full $54,990 hits the budget before we get to excess cost. So it has a much greater impact than if it was a different situation. So we got that squared away. The only other remaining issue, as far as I'm concerned, is the reimbursement in here is at 60%. As you saw from one of my emails in the last 10 days, the history on this is 80%, not 60%. And in fact, went back like 5 years. Year to date, it's running over 86%. I checked it this afternoon. The issue here is that using 60% means we shove $47,096 into the budget and into the Prop 46 calculation and into the tax increase. They shouldn't be there. The state has reimbursed at 80% for 5 years. It's not conservative to budget it at 60%. Because what you're in effect doing is saying, well, we're gonna hit the tax base for 50 grand, and if we need it, it's there, and if not, well, we hit them for 50 grand anyway. I don't think too many taxpayers are gonna see that as a conservative move. Now, could this be an issue? Could the state decide that they're not gonna reimburse at 80%? Sure they could. The state could also decide that they're gonna cut ECS funding by $200,000 or $300,000, or road improvements by $100,000, or God knows what else. And frankly, we're not gonna know. We're not gonna know until after the tax bills go out. Because I don't think there's anybody that thinks they're gonna have a budget before the 1st of July. So, it's hard to argue we're gonna be conservative by throwing 47 grand at the taxpayers. I mean, why not throw 200,000 at them? You know, or 50,000, or just make up any old reason you want. Prop 46 is very clear. It's to cover increases in state mandated costs. The actual increase in state mandated cost in this particular case is $34,314, not $81,000. That's money.
So what's the rationale? Karen, you still here? Is Karen here?
The rationale, I would use the same,
Why are we using 60% instead of 80?
I would use the same term that Mr. Richardson used. We feel that using 60% is conservative because there are too many unknowns with regard to what the state will do. I will agree with Mr. Richardson on that point. We don't know. I believe over the last several years that the state has set a ceiling of $2 million, Karen, for,
Yeah, I'm not sure.
okay, it's approximately $2 million for what they will pay in excess cost. We don't know that they're gonna do that. I mean, the state is in a difficult budget position now. The other issue that we don't know, and we won't know for a while, is what our per pupil cost in terms of the 4.5 times excess cost is gonna be. Your per pupil costs are gonna go up because you've got declining enrollment and you've had a slight increase in the budget. So even for every $500 that it goes up, 4.5 times that is $2,500 times 9 students makes it someplace in the neighborhood of $22,500 that you're going to also have to lay out in terms of special education costs before you get any reimbursement from the state. I don't argue with Mr. Richardson in terms of no taxpayer is going to want to see $47,000 speculating that things are going to happen, but neither do I think you want the Board of Education or the Board of Finance to be in a position whereby all the other unknowns that may come into play, and the Board of Education having to come back to you sometime in February or March and saying, look, we're in difficult straits, and therefore we're going to fall short, and we need additional funds in order to zero out the budget come June. We've always done it that way. When the Board of Finance was getting the revenues, you encouraged us to be conservative, so that if you budgeted a certain amount and you got more later on, then the Board of Finance had some greater latitude. I don't see that the rationale is any different than what you do in terms of tax collections. You budget on 97.5%, I think it is, and if you get 99%, then you've got some latitude with that other 1.5%. I think this is just a very prudent way to protect both the Board of Finance and the Board of Education moving forward.
So was there any, I mean, so along those lines, what was the rationale for the 60%? Understanding everything you just said, was 60%, you know, did you say you think it's gonna get cut from 80 to 60 or 70, or was it just, you know, was it a swag, or was there a rationale behind the 60? I think that's more of the question than anything else.
Mr. Richardson, and again, I'm not disputing his figures, they may come out as an average of 80%, but they haven't always been 80%. They've been 72%, 73, 75. Looking at that history, we felt 60% was a nice, conservative, appropriate percentage to give some latitude in terms of the unknowns that are up there.
Has 60% been the percentage that we've used historically for the last?
Yes.
Yes, it has.
Okay, so when the money was coming back to the Board of Finance, it was always 60%.
Yes, it was.
So you haven't changed that at all?
No, we have not.
Let's be a little accurate. The money didn't come back to the Board of Finance. The issue was whether it got treated, whether it passed through the town account before it went to the Board of Education, or it went directly to the Board of Education. It's misleading to say it came to the Board of Finance. It never came to the Board of Finance. Number two is the numbers that were in that email were 82, 73, 75, 78, 83. But 78, 75, and 73 did not include, as was outlined in Mr. Chambers' email, the special grant that has now been added into the rest of it, which is why it's 82. It's actually, it's above that right now for this year. And this is statewide. So, you know, I understand what they're saying, but I can make up anything to say we want to be conservative. Hey, let's throw in another $100,000 because we may have another snowy winter like we had last year. We may have a hurricane. God knows what. But that's not what Prop 46 says. Prop 46 says you can add money to cover increasing cost. We're making up a number and calling it increasing cost. If we're gonna do that, the taxpayers have to be informed that the real number isn't the number that we're telling them. The real number is $47,000 less. And, I mean, that's just wrong on so many levels. You know, I can't count.
Anyone else?
For example, we were to do that at 75% versus 60%, and there was a cost of for special ed, they'd come back for appropriation, isn't that correct? And we'd have to pay for it, it's a state mandated program. We're well over 12% in our sorry, undesignated general fund. So we could still pay for all this, we just wouldn't be putting money into the budget permanently.
Along those same lines, if that was to happen, and we had to add money from the undesignated fund, and it might not be for this 47,000, it could be somebody shows up on July 7th. If we had to do that, then next year, by definition, it would go into the calculation and be recouped in the tax increase. Because that's the way the system works. The cost went up. The calculation allows you to recoup those costs. So it's not lost. It's still there.
Anyone else? Well, we need to set a figure for the town meeting. And we had put one out at the previous meeting. Do you wish to amend that, or go forward with what we have?
Can we amend that to reflect what Mr. Richardson, the $38,000 increase in special, is that what you're saying?
34,314.
So do we just add that 34,314 on to the, yes or no?
No, that isn't the way it would work.
You would take the 81,410 that is currently in the 22,061, and you would reduce it by the difference between the 81,410 and the 34,314.
Which one did you want?
Right? I mean, that's, if we were to use your figure, we go,
Depends which way you're going. If you take the original one, which was the original one. Yeah, the original motion. It's in the minutes. Actually, just like to find that.
The original one was for an increase of $134,998 total.
Right, which was 21,979,978.
Correct.
If you add 34,314 to that, and that would be the total.
and do you have that figure? I mean, just, we're on agreement on what the number is, at least that we're considering.
Yeah, I think so. But if they're adding it to the Prop 46 calculation.
That would be 22,014,292.
All right, I get to the same number.
22,014,000.
292.
And Prop 46 limit would be jumped from 134,998. $173,312. Did you get that?
What was the number again?
173,312. So that would add 34,314 to what was, oh no, I got it wrong. 4. $169,312.
That I have, not that. I didn't have the first one, so
I wrote it down, I wrote down 9 instead.
okay.
Yeah. But that assumes that the board would approve spending right to the limit for Prop 46.
And we don't specify no increase in the motion?
No, no, we don't.
Well, I will move that we bring a budget of 22,044,000. 14, that's right. Can't read my own writing. $22,014,292 increase to a town meeting.
Second.
Where do you use that motion?
We have a, yeah,
The legal motion?
the motion would
Okay.
read,
Sorry. Okay. To approve the proposed budget of the town of Woodstock for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2016, in the amount of $22,014,292, and to appropriate said sum to meet the recommended expenditures.
we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those, any discussion?
We're a lot of water, so. I caution against spending to the limit. We did this last year, we're doing it again this year. The logical question is why bother? Just calculate the limit, decide you're gonna split it, and do it. Now, that means if you spend to the limit, you better make sure the calculation's right. Now, I happen to think that there's about $11,000 in there that doesn't belong there. And that has to do with the transportation expense issue that I raised a couple of meetings ago. Only in Woodstock can a reimbursement for an expense be a revenue, which is exactly the way it was treated. So my comment would be, I would not spend to the limit of Prop 46. We send a wrong message to everybody.
Well, I think we can investigate the transportation issue that you brought up, continue to take a look at that. But I think from last year with the resounding approval from the town of Woodstock that we are sending the right message, that the townspeople want to have these programs funded. Prop 46 stops us from funding at the levels that people are asking for. Sets a limit on it, but from last year, people approved going to the max. I don't see a problem going that far.
Any other discussion?
Well, I'm gonna weigh in here, and I sound like a broken record, because I brought this up for 4 meetings in a row. I'm very concerned about where the state's going, where our levels of reimbursement are gonna be going forward, between the education cost sharing grant and agencies and towns. Universal car tax, I mean, we're looking at tax increases everywhere. I'm not particularly in favor, although I don't have a vote tonight, to going to the limit. I'm not suggesting we don't have some increase, but I don't think going to the limit is the right thing to do either.
Anyone else? Well, a couple of things that we have to consider here. We have 2 different possible limits that we're looking at, depending on the figures that you use. The proposed limit at this time is $169,312 as an increase. If this goes to the voters and they put it in, well, then, as Mr. Lessig had said, it says that this is what they believe should be spent. The only problem is if the budget is turned down, we have no way of knowing, were the people unhappy with the budget because it was too high or it was too low? And kind of make things a little more difficult and extends the process here, although extending the process is not by any means what we're trying to avoid, because we want to do what's right. So if anybody else has any other thoughts before we put this to a vote.
Well, if we do take and go to the limit and people do turn it down, there's only one way the budget can go. and that's
It's down, that's correct.
We cannot increase it above the limit of Proposition 46.
Correct.
So if we go to that, that only gives us one option.
Correct.
The other thing in my mind, that $169,000 increase, I haven't calculated everything out, but I don't think that even covers the amount of increase in salary increases due to contractual obligations. And the more you take and have your contractual obligations increase, you're decreasing the amount of money that's available for the other programs, both in the school and at town hall. And you're running into a slowly diminishing circle of the amount of money you're going to be able to spend for the programs that the people want. Because anytime you have people are something that's there and they have to be taken care of. And we also have a certain amount of inflation due to all the other costs. The school is saving some money this year over last year just on the price of fuel going down. But by the same token, the price of electricity is going up. So I think we should, give the increase over what they had last year, just to take and cover the increase in costs due to inflation and contractual obligations. That's my opinion, for what it's worth.
Anyone else? All right, I guess we'll put it to a vote. There's a motion on the floor to approve the proposed budget for the town of Woodstock for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2016, in the amount of $22,014,292, and to appropriate said sum to meet the recommended expenditures. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, we need a motion to approve the capital improvement plan for the town of Woodstock for the period ending fiscal year 2019-2020 in the amount of $10,850,650.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? So carried. All right.
Michael, can we have clarity on who's getting the money? If that hasn't been discussed, the $34,314, it hasn't been discussed tonight, who would get that? Is it being divided, or is it going directly?
No, it was, basically, it was decided at the last meeting, that $33,074 of whatever increase there was going to the town, and whatever change there was would go to the Board of Ed. So that would be the difference.
So the increase
The
due to special ed will go directly to the school.
Correct.
Correct.
The 34,314.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that everyone's aware of that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don. All right, the next order of business is to appoint the auditor. And Mahoney Sable is our current auditor, and this year's cost is $35,700 for the audit. We basically have them for the next 4 years, so we need a motion to appoint them officially.
So moved to reappoint the auditors from last year.
Mahoney Sable.
Yes.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
I didn't hear who did the first.
Dave.
Dave Haas.
Okay,
Sorry, yeah, middle Dave.
middle, yeah.
Middle Dave.
Oh, the old days.
Old Dave.
The only Dave that actually can do it.
Oh, that's true. I just didn't hear, I heard a lot of voices.
All right, there's no discussion?
No, question.
Go ahead.
Is that amount the same as last year's?
Donna, is that?
Is there a
increase?
fee increase?
Yeah, there's a slight increase.
Yeah, it was,
500 or 1,000.
yeah, it's some small amount that we had. It was over the period of time, I think it was like a 9% increase over 5 years from the original.
Okay.
That takes care of my budget.
There you go. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, we've set aside the discussion on bylaws until after the budget season is over. Any other old business we need to discuss? New business. Okay, and new business, you got your quarterlies there. Take a look at them if you have anything you'd like to bring up.
I have a question on the Board of Ed. Are you anticipating having much to go into the non-lapsing account at the end of the year?
Our meeting is Thursday night. I have not seen that sheet that's in front of you. I do not think so.
Well, they're looking at the expenditure report, but we're in the process of doing projections right now and should have a better idea for Thursday night.
Any other questions on the quarterlies?
I had a question about this for Alan Walker, but I think he left, so.
All right, that one's not his. Okay. Nothing further on that? We will go on to citizens' participation. Anyone have anything that they would like to?
Yeah, hi. I have a feeling I'm a little late because the public hearing was earlier in the month.
Can I have your name for the record?
Yeah, Karen Warwitzki, Tattoo Road, Woodstock. And could you turn to page 28 with me in the budget, and somebody could just walk me through? I know you just voted, and it's gonna go to the
Which budget, Board of Education or the general government?
general government. This is page 28 of the document. It's over on-
health and welfare page.
And I just wondered if you could walk me through the recreation town beach piece. I know that might seem frivolous to you who are grappling with, many issues, but I am concerned about that program. And I see that the request was for $24,925, and it seems, the way I'm reading it, is that it's gonna be funded for $5,000. Am I reading this correctly? Okay.
I
And-
believe you're reading it correctly, but
Yeah, okay. Were there any, I didn't get to make it to the public hearing, were there any parent comments at the public hearing? Could anybody fill me in on that?
no, they were not.
I have a feeling it's because people don't know this is happening. I know this caught me off guard last year too, and I just want to say, I know that we deal with a lot of really serious issues in life and in town, and, for me, that was one of the best things about Woodstock, was in the summer, having that little program for the children of the community, and it really gave you a sense of community. You met other parents, you were out there together. Mr. Kelly does an excellent job running it. Not that he's the only person that could run such a thing, but I just feel this is a shame. And if there were any way to find funds to, bump that up to what it was 2 years ago, hundreds of children have been taught to swim out of that wonderful facility. It's a wonderful part of Woodstock. And to just sort of cut that to ribbons and let that go, it's the only thing the town really does for the kids in the summer. And so I know we're all facing, it's been an endless era of budget cuts, right, throughout life. So I just would like to speak for that program, and it might be too late this year, but I want you to think about it for next year if it's too late for this year.
Well, it is in fact too late for this year, because that's an appropriation out of the Board of Selectmen's budget. It's one of their line items, and that was their decision to make that cut before they proposed that final budget to us. But,
Right, and I can, we did question the Board of Selectmen last month about that. George and I both questioned it, and we agree with you. It's just, they had to come up with some cuts, and actually Mr. Richardson had some recommendations on ways that maybe they could save some money, and, we'd like to see it reinstated also.
So for $5,000, what is actually gonna happen out there?
I think they said constables, right, Glenn?
Yeah, constables, that pays for our policemen on the weekends is the $5,000.
And no
That
swim
is-
program, no lifeguards?
no, it's basically what we were told, it would be a swim at your own risk program, that's it.
My suggestion, would be to get, you to get a group of people who are really interested in having more funds available for the town beach. Get them together, go to a selectmen's meeting and yell like heck, okay? And have them find some money in their budget, because they can shift money around a little bit.
So it's not completely a lost cause for this coming summer?
Well, if you yell loud enough, you might be able to get some more money available for the town beach.
Okay.
And yell at election time.
Well, yeah, right. But I mean,
And
let's-
I know for a fact from my years on the board here, the town beach has suffered as far as funding is concerned. It used to be funded a lot more than it was now, and Alan Kelly has done a good job out there, and he has not been given any additional funds for paying the lifeguards, and the lifeguards should have a salary increase and whatever. And gradually, that's one of the things that has suffered because of the lack of funds in the budget. I should say, the money's being spent elsewhere in the
Right.
budget.
Right, because really, 30,000, which I think it was around 30,000, he finally got that up to a reasonable amount where he could provide what the lifeguards needed and pay them a reasonable wage, and they do an excellent job. That's really I don't want to say a pittance, but that's not too much to ask for a community that has the facility, that has kids in the summer. I don't know, I just think we should.
That's why I say you
please
have to
don't
go take and yell to the Board of Selectmen, because
Yeah.
that's their budget, and they,
Okay.
we'll have to find the money for it, if they can. Because we can't do any more, because we're right at the spending limit.
They may find some money when they discover that they have to fix the stipend that they're overpaying by $22,000 a year. So,
Well, things shift. I mean, there's always something that gets found, right? So,
That's right.
Yes, there always is.
okay, thank you.
Any other citizens' participation? Go on to correspondence and announcements. The town meeting will be May the 12th. And the Budget referendum will be on the 19th. We will follow that with a meeting to, anyone have anything else to add before we adjourn?
Motion adjourned. Second?
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So carried.